So I've noticed that the last couple of rants that I've done, I ended up recommending them. So let's go for something that I fucking hated for a change, right? So today we have Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Originally I got this game because it was on offer, like every other piece of shit that I keep getting these days, but now I see why it was so cheap, because the game is so fucking cheap. And I've had 2 cracks at this game, and both occasions were not enjoyable. The first time I played it, I got up to the second Titan boss fight but gave up, because I was playing this on PC, and the game was telling me to quickly rotate the movement keys, which would be fine if this was on the console, but trying to hit the WASD buttons in an anti-clockwise movement really fast just wasn't going to happen, so I originally stopped on that boss fight. But thanks to my wonderful new dongle, I realised that I now have no excuse not to go back and have another go at Castlevania. Which I did, and I got over the previous problem. But by then I'd just forgotten how crap this game was, and all of a sudden, all of it was flooding back. Let me make one thing clear, okay? This is not a Castlevania game. It has the word Castlevania on the front cover, but it's not a Castlevania game. That's like calling that mobile game where you craft a dungeon over the period of 7 weeks a Dungeon Keeper game, which they did and it fucking isn't. This game is really a watered down and bland version of, yes, you knew this was coming, God of War. Take God of War 3, replace Kratos with someone from One Direction, stiffen up the combat so you can't maneuver Gabriel too well, or cancel a move in mid-combat, meaning you just have to watch him finish off his move like he's obsessive-compulsive or something, remove most of the magical abilities but replace them with light and dark powers, which only heal you and make your attack stronger for a limited time, have a story that gets explained at the beginning of the game, but then just bumbles through 12 chapters without developing much, 14 if you own the Ultimate Edition, all of which being narrated by Patrick Stewart for some unknown reason, and make the combat sections unnecessarily drawn out by throwing in more to the fight after it takes ages to kill off each enemy. That's the thing! The combat in this isn't difficult, but if you want to do it right, then you'll be spending half your time just dodging attacks and spending forever hacking away at the enemy's face, only to then have to do it all over again when some more werewolves show up to keep this exhilarating party going. Then there's the skeletons who you have to kill twice. Fucking twice! Is that even necessary? So surely that means that I don't have to fight as many enemies, right? Wrong! You fight just as many of them as you do as all the other enemies. Oh, and there are some Shadow of the Colossus style boss fights which are passable, I suppose, but going back to that Stone Titan boss fight, I had to restart it several times because a glitch was preventing the Titan from throwing stones at me, which is how you start the process of actually climbing onto him. Also, I really don't get why this game is 12 chapters. Why is it so long? And chapter 2 also has like 9 levels in it. But it's not like the plot is big or anything, or that much is happening at all. The whole point of the game is to get to the end of each level. Yes, you're trying to kill off all the Lords of Shadow, which is what the game's referring to when it says Lords of Shadow, and locate some kind of mask, and correct me if I'm wrong, this should allow Gabriel to bring back his dead wife, and once again, Shadow of the Colossus comes back to mind. But there just doesn't seem to be anything that makes you want to press on. The only reason I finished it is because I hate not being able to finish a game. Okay, some of the boss fights were alright, mainly because they reminded me a bit of Dark Souls a little, where you're pitted against an average-sized enemy in a one-on-one fight, and provided of course you're completely focused, then everything should be fine, but lose interest and you'll lose your head, literally. But the way boss fights are inserted into this game just doesn't feel right. They feel kind of misplaced. For example, you'd expect to fight a boss fight at the very end of each chapter, but that's not always the case, with some boss fights just thrown onto you because you happen to walk past them during a cutscene, and they don't like you encroaching on their turf. In one case, I had to fight 2 bosses back to back, and it occurred to me that this doesn't make sense, considering that this game is fucking massive, and they could have been separated a bit better, especially seeing as there are 12 chapters, so there's really no excuse here. Just, why the fuck is Patrick Stewart even in this game? I've noticed this about him recently. He's been showing up in games where his presence isn't even required. Sims Medieval, for example. What was he doing there? And it's the same here. His character contributes as much to the story of this game as taking a bath in Nutella does to curing dementia. He's from the same order as Gabriel, and together, the 2 of them do get to the end of the level. Again, not much happens during each level. In fact, by the time I got to chapter 7, it occurred to me that there had been no story for at least 4 chapters. All the game consists of is going from one place to another. There are some puzzle moments here too, such as climbing, a bit like, wait for it, God of War, But some other puzzles too, such as a sort of chess game, where each piece has a health bar and it all starts to get a bit stupid. And some other puzzles too, but here I would go on to say that these puzzles were quite unique and a welcome change, but the thing is that's not the case, because they just don't feel original at all. Feels more like a rip-off of the Alice games. In fact, Madness Returns to be exact, because there's an option of skipping a puzzle if you can't figure it out. If you're familiar with Alice the Madness Returns, and I should probably bring that game up in another video at some point, but if you're finding a puzzle too hard, then there's the option of skipping it, which, to me, just renders the puzzle redundant if you can simply skip it straight away, and Arseholevania Lords of Shit is definitely guilty of the same crime. And if you're playing this game for the first time and are a fan of the old Castlevania games, then a complete lack of Dracula will be your first concern. But don't worry, there's a big plot twist at the end which should make you feel better. Though in reality it was really fucking lame and no one wanted to see it anyway. A bit like hearing about a video of someone getting naked but then realising that it's Willem Dafoe. I really can't help this, but going back to the enemies, what's with the little dudes that steals your shit? This one dickhead shows up a few times, forcibly steals all of your magical abilities, and then you have to chase him down and play hide and seek, after which he gives you all of your stuff back out of good sportsmanship. Though Gabriel isn't a good sportsman because then he proceeds to snap the little shit's neck straight after, which I was happy with, because you have to ask yourself the question when you come across these parts. What was the fucking point? It was just a huge waste of time. A one big sidetrack that accomplishes nothing. So if I'm gonna have to go off and waste time, then at least let me snap something's neck at the end of it. Actually, you could say that about the entire game. It was a poor attempt at being a AAA game. As a Castlevania game, it's a good example of how modern gaming is going straight down the shitter pretty quickly, and as a standalone game, it's nothing great and is a rip-off of other games. Nice graphics, combos look good, and the boss battles are big and semi-enjoyable. Everything else is not worth your time in all honesty. If this game is on offer, well then it's up to you I guess whether or not you go for it. At full price then I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Oh, and try and get it for the console. Or if you're going to get it for the PC then use a controller. Trust me, it's better that way. Or better yet, just don't get it at all. There are plenty of other mediocre AAA games out there that are getting released these days which are more worthy of your attention, so go for those instead. In conclusion, Castlevania Lords of Shadow has nice graphics, and therefore is the greatest game ever.